Greetings! My name is Christopher Wilson. I'm a member of the Percussive Arts Society's Education Committee, as well as the chair of the Fundamentals Subcommittee, and it is my pleasure to introduce the 2024 Fundamental Friday series. We have 7 clinics in store this year, ranging on all sorts of topics in percussion and music education. And we're so pleased to welcome our first clinician this year, the Director of Percussion Studies at James Madison University, Casey Cangelosi.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining this session, and thanks PAS for allowing me to do a fundamentals session on counting. I think counting is really important. I think it's something that some of us don't firm up for long enough in our musical life. I think it applies in many, many places, and the system that I'm going to share with you today is what I was taught when I was really young, and it hasn't failed me yet, and I think it has the most application as far as communicating with other musicians and being the most accurate and precise. And that's really what we mean when we talk about counting systems in music. Of course, we count in music the same way we count in daily life. We count measures in a piece. We count how many symphonies a composer wrote. We do regular counting, but what we're talking about is a system that allows for really measuremental precision in rhythm. So I like to think of musical notation kind of on a y and x axis. And the y-axis deals with pitch, and you can think of little lines of measurement just like a ruler going up and down. And you can imagine this is everything we can hear right here, from the highest pitch down to the lowest pitch. We move around these increments of measurement with our clefs and staff lines. So it wouldn't be realistic to look at the whole range of pitch all the time, so we have these nice little snapshots and windows, and if we have to step outside of one of those, we can move up or down with ledger lines, and then of course we can move a whole section down with clefs. So each clef is a little window into a portion of that y-axis. The thing we're going to deal with today is the x-axis, all right? The axis that deals with time. Music is a time art, and we also have to communicate it from when it starts all the way to when it ends. So the tick marks you're looking at here, these are measure lines. So we have nice little increments to organize time according to measures. So if you look at this here, you may consider this 11 measures of music. Let's say each measure was a second long. Great, you would have 11 seconds of music. So that is very precise, just like the system of pitch description is very precise. But music is not that simple. We zoom in further into our measures, and we need to count the specific music inside of these measures. So what we don't have is a nice tidy little ruler describing what happens inside of each measure. That would be very clear as to what's happening. Just like a real ruler, we could have 16th divisions, 8th divisions, quarter divisions, half divisions, etc. And we could just place our notes on these tick marks as follows. Note values do actually have this. We just don't have the ruler in front of us to see it as obviously as I've got here. But actually this is inside of our note values. So here are 16th note divisions. Here are 8th note divisions, our quarter note divisions, half note divisions, and the whole portion in this case is going to be the whole note. So that's how it breaks down, but that's not really practical to look at, just like the entire pitch range and all the staff lines is not practical to look at. We need little snapshots into what we're looking at. So in this system, the syllable counting divisions go as follows. You have the main beat, which is always a number, and then you have the divisions splitting up first into twos that happen. So every main beat, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case, you're going to split into 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then after that, you're going to split that into 1 E and 2 E and. Those are the syllables in the American counting system. I have 16th notes and 8th notes here. This is not always the case. 8th notes are not always counted this way. 16th notes are not always counted this way. It is just a matter of when a beat is divided into two, you go into ands. When a beat is divided into 4, you go into e-and-does. So probably my favorite thing about this counting system is what I'm going to call today just the trickle down benefit. Every beat gets a number. And that happens no matter what time signature and meter you're in. We're in 4/4 right now, but if we were in 6/4, this would go all the way to 6. If we're in 3/4, it would just go to 3, so on and so forth. This is great because it corresponds to a conductor's pattern. All right, these are the same beats that a conductor is going to conduct. The next division also trickles down. So the ands in the 8th note division trickle down into the 16th note 4 division also. The and of 2 in the 8th note division is in the same place as the and of 2 in the 16th note division. Even if you went down to 6 tuplets, the ands and beat numbers would still stay the same. So this means that we are able to describe really clearly to each other, hey Casey, you are playing on the and of 3, but it's actually on the duh of 3. And if I can count that, I know exactly where that is. I can count 1E and a 2E and a 3E and duh. So just like there are note values that you hear, there are also note values that you do not hear. Music is described in sound and silence. So on the left here we have notes you'll hear, and on the right we have silences. So where it is tricky is when all these values start to intersperse with each other. It's pretty easy if you just have all 8th notes or all quarter notes or all 16th notes, but usually music is a lot more interesting than that, and we start to intersplice all of the divisions. So sometimes you have to borrow from the quarter note count, sometimes you have to borrow from the 8th note count, and sometimes you have to borrow from the 16th note count. So to complicate things a little further, beats can be divided and shared within each other, and also rest can be intermixed with that as well. So the steps to counting a rhythm like this is to first locate the main beats, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then to locate all the subdivisions within. So if you slide up and down the note scales and the divisions that we have here, you can call those the rhythm trees, you'll see that you can add up to where every quarter note is found in this little measure. It's meant to be obvious. Every pile of beamings is meant to show where those beats are. So after you've found the main beats and then the subdivisions, the way you would be counting this is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, and the way you would play it is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. One more time, that would be 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So let's go down the same rabbit hole for time signatures like 12/8. Again, I like this system because it applies to all of these time signatures and meters as well. We're going to take the main beats and label them by number. In this case, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next level down is going to be 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. And then we're going to take those same syllables and fill them in with ta. 1 ta la ta lita, 2 ta la ta lita, 3 ta la ta lita, 4 ta la ta lita. In these meters, the syllable system trickles down like this. You still have the main beats. You have the inner 8th notes, lolly, and then you have the 16th notes, ta. And you get the same trickle down benefit. And again, you can communicate with each other. Hey, Casey, you're playing that on the la of 2. It's on the li ta of 2. And if I know how to count that, I know exactly where that is. 1 ta la ta lita, 2 ta la ta lita. I can be really precise as to where that is. So again, we're going to go through the same process to figure out how to count this. We're going to find the main numbered beats. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to find the inner syllables and the inner subdivisions and name them according to our one-ta-la-ta-li-ta system. So you find where all of those lie, and then you know exactly where to play. 1 la li, 2 ta la ta li ta, 3 ta la li, 4. Okay, so this counting system works for both divisions of 2 and divisions of 3. You'll probably hear these called simple meter and compound meter, but all that means is that the beats are either divided by 2 in simple or 3 in compound. So when you arrive to something like mixed meter, this is often where I see maybe someone's counting system fails them, and they revert back to just saying, okay, let's just call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which for a lot of cases that might work, but again, it's not as specific. You don't get to name the beats as numbers anymore if you do this. But what's cool about the counting system I'm telling you about today is that you can still use and borrow from both systems when you deal with mixed meter. So you can count this 1 and 2 and 3 la li. That's extra cool because it works for 7/8, but also works for this meter. We'll talk about meter a little more in just a second. So you would play this 1 and a 2 e and a 3 ta la ta li ta. Again, you would go 1 and a 2 e and a 3 ta la ta li ta. So a little more on meter and time signature because they do affect how you count. Here are 2 examples of 7/8, which just means there's 7/8 notes inside of each measure, and they are metered differently. The top one is metered in 3, and you can see this by the beaming designation. You got 3 groups. The bottom one is beamed in 2s, so you got a meter of 2 in the bottom. So this means you will count these differently. The top one you will count 1 and 2 and 3 la li, 1 and 2 and 3 la li, and it's going to be probably conducted in that as well. 1 and 2 and 3 la li, 1 and 2 and 3 la li. As opposed to the bottom example, 1 la li, 2 e and a, 1 la li, 2 e and a. The meter does affect how you count. So again, this will correspond to how the conducting pattern should be. You can see the top example is going to be in 3, 1 and 2 and 3 la li, 1 and 2 and 3 la li, 1 and 2 and 3 la li, 1. The bottom example will be in 2, 1 la li, 2 e and a, 1 la li, 2 e and a, 1 la li, 2 e and a, 1. This even works for mixed meter music that is alternating. So in this example, 1 la li, 2 and 3 and 1 la li, 2 la li, 1 and 2 n. One more time, that would be 1 la li, 2 and 3 and 1 la li, 2 la li, 1 and 2 n. So let's look at this applied to a real piece of music. This is a percussion trio called Trace to Trace Paratrace by composer Reynalise Herrera. There's a lot of vertical information. It makes it look very complicated and is a complicated piece. The rhythm, however, if we just break it down, I'll simplify it. So you just have the horizontal information here. We have a lot of mixed meter, and how you count it, I would first find all the main beats and label them with numbers, and then go down our rhythm tree and find all the subdivisions and label them. 1 la li, 2 and 1 la ta li, 2 e and 1 e and 2 la li, 1 e and a 2 e and a 3 la li, 1 la ta li, 2 la ta li, 1 e and a 2 e and a 3 la li, 1 la ta li, 2 ta la ta li. So again, it's good because you get the meter involved with the numbers, you get the main beats preserved for numbers. A good thing I think that this number system has is that you can say the syllables really fast and you still get to keep numbers for beats. Something a lot of people like about other counting systems, like say the Takadimi system, is it's easy, it just kind of rolls out of your mouth quicker than this system does, I think. Takadimi, 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 but you really don't have a way of involving the numbers. And again, we can be a lot more clear when we communicate with each other, when we can describe spots inside of those larger beats. So a little more about time signature. We have all these number designations for our note values. Whole note is 1, half is 2, quarter is 4, eighth is 8, 16th is 16th, so on and so forth. So a time signature is always going to be one number on top of another. The bottom number is always going to be one of these values. Okay, it could be 32nd, it could be 64th, but not very likely. It's most likely going to be one of these values here. So a time signature simply tells you this many of this kind inside of a measure. So a little more about time signature and meter. Here we've got a series of 8 eighth notes in 4 groupings. So this fits into all of these time signatures, but one of them is the better describer of the music we're looking at here, and this is the issue of meter. So you probably may know already that the best time signature for this is 4/4 because it fits the space within the measure, and the number 4 tells us how many beats there will be. This is also 8 eighth notes, but it's grouped into 2 large groupings. So the best time signature for this, because it further describes the meter, is 2/2. This does affect how you count because the 2/2 with divisions of 4 in the big beats is going to be counted 1 and a, 2 and a, whereas the 4/4 is going to be counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the 2/2, 1 and a, 2 and a. The 4/4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's the same amount of space, but it has a different feel, it has a different meter. We do the same thing with compound meters. We've got 3/4 at the top, 6/8 in the middle, and also 6/8 at the bottom, but they are 3 different meters. The top meter is in 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. The middle meter is in 2, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, and the last measure is in 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You sometimes will see the 6/8 written this way. That is a way to describe the time signature while also giving the meter of 2. So let's look at another example of music complete with tempo, time signature, meter, all of that into consideration. This is Carlos Chavez's Toccata. Let's look at part 3, and we're in 3/4 time. That means there should be a total of 3 quarter notes worth of space in every measure, and the quarter note is 138 beats per minute. So I'm going to grab 138 on my metronome, and of course I'm going to count this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the way this would go is, let's see if I can get ready to do this. First is a measure of rest. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a. So it's very important, as you can see, that I subdivide very carefully those last 3 bars because of the 1 and a placements. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a. This composite rhythm between player 1 and 3 is very, very tricky, and if each player isn't clearly subdividing well, the composite rhythm won't happen. So I'm going to end the session there. We can go through a lot more examples. I just encourage you to practice counting, take music, and follow that exact process. Find the main beats, and then find the subdivisions of the music you see inside of it. Practice saying it out loud, practice counting and clapping along or tapping along, and I think it'll really help, as it's helped me, help your how you learn music. It'll help you learn music quicker. If you're a composer, it'll help you transcribe what you're hearing and commit it to paper. And thank you. Enjoy. Bye.